Good afternoon. Well, it's 2 o'clock. I just woke up. Why? You slept till 2? Oh, yeah, I slept till 2. I know why I slept for a long time today because over the past week, I've been getting very, very little sleep, like 4 or 5 hours of sleep. And then today, when I went to bed, I just passed out. I woke up, I saw the time was almost 2 o'clock. I just woke up now at 2 o'clock. Yeah, crazy, huh? My eyes are all baggy and yeah. What do you guys want me to talk about? Because I've been talking about the CFL for the past 2 weeks. I want to change the topic. I love his over as I know, but I can talk about Skysos, but I've been talking about Skysos for years. It's getting a little bit annoying, right? Yeah, I mean, I made hundreds of Skysos videos. You know? Yeah. I might as well just talk about the CFL. I don't know what else to talk about, guys. I could talk about Skysos, but I've talked about Skysos. I made like hundreds of Skysos videos, but the CFL's getting a little bit annoying too. I've been talking about it for 2 weeks straight. I guess you guys now get the picture how the league works, right? Yeah, we know about the bias. Yeah, there's an American bias in the CFL. Only league that has the bias towards its own another nationality. It's very weird. Yeah. Yeah. Sarah? Yeah. I should be CFL commissioner, guys. I'm too big for a league. For me to be CFL commissioner, I have to sell to the gatekeepers, and the CFO be duping me, paying me out. Like CFO can't afford me, man. I'm worth more than the whole league, man. Yeah, but I gave some suggestions of perhaps fixing the league, but the CFO will never make that change. I mean, we can't. We're never gonna do that, man. The quality will go down, man. Yeah, they don't believe the Canadians are good enough to put on good quality football for the people of Canada. That's why it's never gonna happen. Yeah. I do the Canadians put on a show. Yeah, they do, but not the way the Americans put on the show. That's my point. It's not as good, obviously. Yeah, yeah. The American players are really down with the Canadian players. Of course they do, because they know they're a bit better, right? And they know, yeah, like all these players got drafted, and when they find out the players got drafted, I was like, oh my god, all these players got drafted. We're starting over them. We're a bit better than the best players in Canada. Yeah, they look down on the Canadians a little bit, obviously, just a little bit, right? Obviously, a little bit. Yeah. Yeah. Because they have the stars up here, man. There's barely any Canadian stars in the CFL, right? Barely any Canadian stars. There we go. Even though I disagree with marketing the Canadian football league with American product, I do hope the league grows in like 10 years, right? Nice for the league to grow. That'd be nice, but I'm just sick of the bias, man. Yeah, I know how you feel. Yeah, a lot of the Canadians know. I know how you feel, man. Yeah, I know. The bias is annoying. Yeah, the American guys get to shine up here, and barely any Canadian stars, man, in the CFL, except for the alignment. If you want to count the alignment, the only the main stars in the CFL are the alignment, obviously, the Canadian alignment. That's the main stars of the league. I mean, that's funny, I know. So it works, right? Yeah, 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 that would be your business strategy. Yes, if I were commissioner, hypothetically speaking, I'll pitch out to the committee, but they would laugh me off as crazy. I even know we can't do that. They'll tell me, all right, no, we can't do that. That's risky. I don't see it as risky. Like when I saw that CI champion game, that was good enough for me, man. I was so entertained by that game, and those are not even the best players in Canada. It's not the NCAA, but it was still entertaining. Dwayne Ford was entertaining. He called it the best game ever, so they were entertained, obviously, by the game. But all the Canadian fans are like, yeah, I can see what you're saying, but the quality will go down. I mean, yeah, it will. That's the truth. It will go down a little bit because The Canadians don't put on as much of a show as the American players, obviously. That's why it's never going to happen. Well, he goes, yeah. Sarah, never going to happen. But Nathan Rook is the hope. He's the hope for all the Canadians. Yeah, Nathan Rook is the hope for the Canadian star players, for the Canadian quarterbacks. He's the hope, obviously. That's how bad the bias is. That whereby Nathan Rook is the hope for Canadian quarterbacks. Trey Ford was the hope too, but he got benched, right? So it's pretty much over for him. Or another team might sign him. He might get another shot at another team. But I mean, for Canadian players, you have shorter windows. If you're not winning games, they're gonna bench you. The Edmonton Eskimos are not doing too good this year. They're the worst team in the West. So, yeah. Sarah? Ivan, do you believe the fans in Canada are not resident with the American players? I don't know. I don't know their hearts, obviously, but I personally don't resonate with them that. I resonate with them a little bit, obviously, because they're stars, but I don't resonate with them that much because they're American from a different country. It's tough for me to resonate with them. Just like if a bunch of Canadians were in the NFL and they were the stars, you Americans wouldn't resonate with those guys. Yeah, we wouldn't. I mean, we have American bias. We don't really care about the Canadian guys playing up here. Like, what the fuck are these guys doing up here? Why are they the stars? You have that same situation here. You guys from Sarah? Yeah, in Canada, right? That's my points. Yeah. Guarantee you, Patrick Mahomes is not very Ivan. That's cold, man. You know us American players are very your best Canadian players. That's fucking cold, man. Yeah, it is. It's cold. I think the CFL. I'll tell the CFL committee, yeah, man, you got to clean house in your league, man. I what do you mean, man? You got to get rid of the American talent, man. That's the problem. That's the problem, guys. Your league is just filled with all these American guys. Ivan, they're talented. I know you're blinded by the talent. CFL. That's why you have to get rid of them because you're blinded by the talent. Yeah, we're blinded by the talent. Yeah, you're trying to be the NFL Canada CFL. Some Sarah. You're blinded by the talent. There you go. Obviously. Yeah, right. It's not fair to the American players you didn't make the NFL, man. You need to give them obviously very well. I know. I see what you're saying. But if you, the best way to make it work is make it fair. Start 12 Canadians and 12 Americans. That's how you make it fair. But because the CFL, we can't do that because we don't believe the Canadian players are good enough to compete with the more athletic Americans. That's why you have to get rid of them if you don't want to deal with that problem. If you don't want to deal with that problem, obviously. Some Sarah. Yeah. Even though the NFL doesn't give us Canadian players. I mean, they do have very few, man. There's only maybe a few Canadians playing in the NFL right now. They're not even star players. Yeah, they're not even star players. There they go. They're all on the practice roster, or they have limited reps here and there, or they're playing special teams. So how's that fair? All the American guys are coming around to get the start in Canada, CFL. That's not fair. So I have the American players that dreams of playing the CFL. No, they don't care about the CFL. They're only here. All the guys who come up here who play, who are the stars of the league, are only here by default. They're here by default because they didn't get their NFL opportunity. That's why they're here. Otherwise, if they did get their NFL opportunity, you wouldn't see any of these guys playing here. And the CFL knows that. We know that we don't care. Like they're very talented. We gotta bring these guys up here to have them put on a show for our CFL games. Ivan. Even when they're only here by default, they never wanted to be here to begin with. Yes, Ivan. That's how we grow the league, Ivan. Okay, that's a very weird way of growing the league. And you also have to market those guys to the Canadian people. Yeah, that's how we grow the league, Ivan. And I'm like, okay, that's a very weird way of growing the league. Let's say the best players in Canada. Weird. Yeah. Yeah. All right, do you see the CFL as a minor league? No, I don't. I don't see it as a minor league. It's its own pro league up here. It's not a minor league. But a lot of people do see it as a minor league, as a developmental league for the American players, because there's some American players who come up here who use the CFL to get another NFL shot. But not all of them. A lot of them and stay up here, which I respect a lot when they do that. But some of them leave to the NFL, and the fans love them. And CFL's, yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, man, like the CFL and Taylor Band promotes this star receiver, this star running back, and they're killing the league up here. They have an amazing career. The fans love them and everything, and you get the news that they went to the NFL, and all the GMs are pissed off. Yeah, they use our CFL to get another NFL opportunity. Yes, guys, because the American players who come here, their dream is not playing the CFL, it's playing the NFL. The Canadian players' dream is playing up here. They don't care about the NFL, guys. Whereas the American guys, their dream is playing the NFL. That's how it works, right? Yeah, it's bizarre. Yeah, yeah. So CFL's blind by the very top. Of course they are. They put on a show on television. That's why they bring the guys up here like that. It's common sense. They know they never want the beer. They're only here by default because they're blind by the time. Yeah, we don't care. They're very talented, man. We got to bring these guys up and have them put on a show for our CFL games. And hopefully, our hope is hopefully when we get an opportunity, we can keep them here. That's their hope. But I mean, they can't compete with the NFL games. And CFL can't compete with the NFL. They can't compete with the NFL. NFL has bigger pockets. They can pay these guys. Minimum salary in the NFL is $500,000. That's how much the star QBs make up here. CFL can't compete with the NFL. Uh, yeah, I see what you're saying, man. If they marketed all these like franchise CS quarterbacks at the universities on TSN, a lot of people recognize, oh my God, Canadian homegrown talent. It could be huge in 10 years. Yes, it could, or it can also flop too. It's a little bit risky because the quality, and the quality will dip. That's why the, all the Canadian people, the quality will dip. That's why the CFL will never make that choice. But we don't really care that much about the quality dipping. As long as we see the best Canadians play, the best Canadians players play, we'll still be entertained. Yeah, you'll be entertained, but it's not like the entertainment with the American guys. I mean, yeah, you're trying to be the NFL CFL. You're trying to be the NFL Canada. That's the problem. Yeah, you're blind by the American talent. I mean, how do you know they're blind? Because man, this has been going on for decades in the CFL, and the fact that they draft all these draft picks and they have limited opportunity to shine. That's how you know the CFL is blinded by the American talent. They don't really care that much about the Canadian players shining up here. They care more about the American players shining up here because they're blinded by the talents. They're just so talented, they're blinded by it. Yeah, they put on the show on television. These guys deserve to shine up here. And most draft picks in the CFL, as I told you, are bust picks. They don't have great careers. Yeah, a few of them do, but not all. Barely any of them do, man. That's how it works. They bounce around teams. They have limited reps here and there. They'll score maybe a receiver will have a few touchdowns and maybe 250 yards, 300 yards for that season if they're lucky. These are first round picks, but they end up on a practice roster and they try to like shine for like 8 years and they quit because they can't take the bias. That's why they all quit, obviously. But, all right, going forward, Ivan, that's true. I'm saying, the draft picks in the CFL after a few years they kind of like fade away. They disappear. You barely hear anything about them. You might hear their names maybe a few times during the season. They made this special team tackle. They made one reception as a receiver, and like they might score maybe one touchdown in one game, but they kind of fade away. Spotlight's on all the American guys. That's how it works in the CFL. I think that's how we go to the league. They put on the show. Yes, I know CFL. You're blind by the American talent. It's crazy, yeah. Sarah? Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, something's not working. Yes, I figured it out. This could be the key, but I could be wrong. I'm like, yeah, the CFL has been putting on quality football for decades with all the American players, and they're the main stars instead of the Canadian players. So it's almost as if like the answer was right in front of their eyes the whole time. But I could be wrong. They've been putting on a show in the CFL with all these American guys that they've been seeing minimal growth for decades. For decades, obviously. The NFL was so popular, the CFL was not that popular. And I'm like, yeah, there's two reasons why the league is not growing. Either the fans just don't care about Canadian football that much, which is a possible answer, or it's the American talent problem in the CFL, and the key to fixing it is a Canadian product, especially the quarterbacks, the franchise quarterbacks. That's the key to really build, growing the league, because the quarterbacks are the ones who build the most buzz, because they're franchise players for the professional team, obviously. And somebody tells me, yeah, if they talked about Brandon Bridge and Nathan Brooke and Brad Sinopoli and Trey Ford, all these CIs, franchise quarterbacks, Jeremy Don Roach, you know what I'm saying? If they were CFL stars and they promote them at universities, a lot more people would tune in, and that's how you grow the thing can be huge in 10 years, or it could flop because the quality dips a little bit. So that's my other answer. Yeah, those are good two plausible answers. Yeah, either the fans in Canada just don't care about Canadian football that much, or there is a bigger market for it, but it's not with the American athletes coming up here. It's with the Canadian athletes, the Canadian product. That's my answer, but I could be wrong. Maybe the fans in Canada just don't care about Canadian football, period. Those are my two answers. I think those are good two plausible answers. I could be wrong. I'm not going to say I'm right. I could be wrong, guys. It could flop. So I'm sorry. Yeah. Yeah. The know it's cold what they're doing. Of course they do, but they don't care. They're blind. We don't care. We're blind by. Yeah, they're blind by the American talent, obviously. Yeah, we don't care if we draft all these picks, these Canadian guys, and none of them, barely any of them, can be stars. We don't really care. It's about the American guys up here. They're the ones who put on the show. Yeah, it's not about the Canadian guys up here. It's about the American guys. A few of them get to be stars, but barely any of them get to be stars, man. It's all the American players who are stars. That's how it works in the CFL, right? Yeah, that's how it works. Yeah. 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 Give me a second. I'm gonna go get my coffee. I'm back. So you guys on my CFL show, right? Yeah. going upstairs to get my coffee. I know you guys love my C4 videos, man. You love my show, but you better enjoy it while you still can, man. Because when I find out how wicked you are, I'm not making it go through when I'm kidding. I'm gonna peace and elevation like you were saying that. I hate saying that. You really believe there is a market for football? Yes, there is, man. I believe there is a market. As for the Ottawa, this is proof how you know there is a market for the Ottawa. For the two Ottawa CIS university teams, they have something called the Panic Game, whereby like a good 10,000 students from that school, from each of the schools, go to the Panic Game to support their Canadian football players who go to their university, and it's crazy. The whole thing is packed. Obviously, so if you promote these guys to universities and on nationwide commercial, chances are a lot of university students will be tuning into the games. I want to see these guys who, the quarterbacks especially. I want to see this quarterback who went to my university, who got drafted, be a star franchise quarterback. More people will tune in, but because the quality will dip a little bit, even though it's still amazing quality football, the CFL is scared. Yeah, even because the quality will dip, less people will turn to the games. That's why it's a little bit risky, but the potential is obviously higher because the Canadians have they have a higher market value than the American players because a lot of people in Canada know about them or they can relate to them because they're Canadian. I'm sorry. Yeah. A lot of the football CFL fans know about them. They can relate to them more. Yeah. And the people who watch them at CIS University, they can relate to them more because they're Canadian guys and say, I see what you're saying, Ivan, yeah. Ivan, do all the CFL fans know the players got drafted? Yes. All the CFL fans for each team, they tune into the draft. They know the players got drafted. They know, but none of them get to shine. Barely any of them get to shine. It's all these American guys who they know nothing about. Obviously, Sarah. Yeah, Ivan, it's very weird. Like the best players in Canada who are drafted from the CFL, they don't get to shine up here. It's the undrafted NFL free agents who get to shine up here in the CFL. So it's kind of like it's like a betrayal. It's like a slap in the face. Yeah, it's like I feel like it's like a betrayal to our own country, man. It's cold what the CFL's doing. Yeah, I don't mean to be an asshole. I've been wearing a mask. Okay, fine. If I'm wearing a mask, I'm wearing a mask. I'm being a dick, but it's cold what the CFL's doing. Obviously, they close the doors on the Canadian after the draft picks, and they open the doors to all these American guys. You don't even want to be here, man. Don't here by default, CFL. Ivan, we know they don't want to be here, but we don't care, man. They're fucking talented. Yeah, you're blinded by the talents. Ivan, they're talented, Ivan, man. We got to bring these guys up here. They got to put on a show for us. That way, you know what I'm saying, we have an entertaining CFL game, Ivan. You know, it's that. Even if they never want the beer and they only hear by yes, Ivan, that's how we grow the league, Ivan. Okay, that's a very weird way of growing the league. And you wonder why your league's not growing, CFL. My guys, the American players, they have the XFL, they have the Arena Football League. They don't make the NFL, they can play there. And if you do good in the Arena Football League, you can still get an NFL shot. It's not the CFL, but you know what I'm saying? Yeah, you got a good point there. Yeah, like the American players who don't make the NFL, they can play in the Arena Football League. They can play in the XFL. Those are still good leagues. It's not the CFL, but I mean, they're still good games and they're still good leagues. If they do good there, they can still get an NFL shot, obviously. Don't hate him, yeah. Whereas the CFL is all the Canadians have. CFL. This is all they have. Or they have Europe football. There's some CFL players who do get Europe football opportunities, but they turn it down because the Europeans are not even close to being as good as us Canadians in football. Obviously, as us Canadians are second after the Americans in terms of talent. The Americans are the best football players, the Canadians are the second best football players in the world, right? So that works. Yeah. I'm sorry. I guarantee you some Canadian fans, man, you should be CFL commissioner, man. If you pitch as a committee, it can work. Guys, I'm too big for your league, man. You guys can't afford me. I'm not gonna have these guys do it, man. Yeah, yeah. Obviously, I have the keys too. Don't forget that. I'm speaking hypothetically. If I did not have the keys, I was an average person and I became CFL commissioner. This is what I would pitch to the committee. They would laugh me off as crazy. I'm like, no, guys, I'm not kidding around. Herb Brooks, the Olympic committee thought he was crazy. If you do this, guys, this could be huge in 10 years. I can like, you really think this will be huge in 10 years? The quality's not as good. Yeah, the quality's not as good, but the fans love the Canadian players more. You know it. They can relate to them more. It's still good enough quality. It's still good, amazing quality football for the people of Canada. It's not the NFL because you're trying to be the NFL of Canada, but it's still amazing football for the people of Canada up here. But you're trying to get quality like the NFL. That's why, yeah, that's why we bring all the American guys, Ivan. Want quality football. Yeah, I get that, CFL, but if you do that and you want the majority of the star players to be American, you now have no choice but to market them to the Canadian people. People from a different country, and you're seeing minimal results. So obviously something's not working, right? You the fans of Canada just don't care about Canadian football that much, or there is a bigger market for it, but it's not with the star American product. It's the star Canadian product. Or I could be wrong. It could flop too. It won't make a difference. I'm sorry. That's my answer. Oh, I'm sitting down. Yeah. Like, what's the key? They'll ask me, like, what's the key to really growing and promoting the Canadian homegrown talent, the quarterbacks? That's what's going to really build the buzz. It's all about the quarterbacks. Yeah, Ivan, you're right, man. Yeah, they talk about the CIS quarterbacks on TSN, the change, and I do a nationwide press conference on TSN. You air it on TSN for the world to see. They know about the change. It could be huge, or it could still flop. They don't care. I don't know. That was my answer. I'm your genius. I know. So, sorry. Phone's ringing. Ugh. So the Canadians played in the CFL. They know the CFL doesn't think they're good enough. Yeah, they're not stupid. They're not starting. None of them are barely any of them are stars. They know they're not stupid. Yeah, we know about the American vibes. We didn't know about the TV thing, man. Well, yeah, it's common sense, guys. The fact that there's barely any of you draft picks who are drafting CFL are stars. They don't believe the CFL doesn't believe you guys are good enough to put on amazing quality. I think football. Do you believe the Canadians are good enough? Yes, they are. But compared to the NFL, it's a significant dip in quality. That's why the CFL doesn't do that because they're trying to be the NFL of Canada. Ivan, like, it'll be good quality for the people of Canada, but it's not like on the NFL's level, Ivan. That's why we're bringing the American guys. We're blind by the talent. Yeah, I see what you're saying, Steve, but because you're bringing all these American guys up here and they get to be the stars of your league, I mean, when you market them to Canadian people, you have no choice but to do that, man. You have to, you have to market the American product to the Canadian people, and that hopefully the league grows. But I mean, they don't even know these guys are in ours, CFL. They know their names now after CFL stars, but some of them know their names, but they don't know anything about these guys. They're from a different country. They can't relate to them compared to the way they would to the Canadian players. Obviously, no names, and yeah. Some Sarah. That's my point. I do. Some people draft picks think they're going to be stars. Yeah, some of them probably do. Yeah, I'm a first round pick. The scouts love me. My step in the training camp, I'm going to be a star and everything. And they most of them step in the training camp, they fade away. You don't even hear about them. They're not stars. A few of them get to be stars, but barely any of them get to be stars. That's why a lot of them they end up retiring. Obviously, they bounce around teams in the CFL for maybe 8 years, and after that they're like, I'm done. They retire. They pursue another career. That's how it works. That's sad, I know. I've seen a few players on Wikipedia who were second, first round picks in the CFL, and like you see, it says like, yeah, they got released in 2019. You don't see any other information about them. This guy got released in 2021. You don't see any information about them. They all retire and they quit because they can't take the American bias, man. Obviously, because what the CFL's doing is cold. It's fucking cold to their own Canadian players, man. It feels like a betrayal to your own country, man, doing that, man. Like, you give the American guys the opportunity to shine up here. We're not even from here. Over our best Canadian players who get drafted. The undrafted players in the NFL shine in the CFL, and the drafted players in the CFL don't get to shine. Yeah. I mean, that's fucking cold. I know it's cold, man. You're blind by the talent. Yeah, they're so talented, that's why we do that. Yeah, I know. That's why you do that, CFL. You're blind by the American talent. There you go. Some Sarah. You're blinded by the American talents. Will we make that real to Ivan? I don't know. Who are the three? Who are the Canadian players who you knew who had amazing careers up here? Andrew Harris, he's a Hall of Famer running back in the CFL. He had an amazing career. Andy Fantu's a receiver, first round pick back in like 2006. Enoch Mwamba had a pretty good career, but I don't know if Enoch Mwamba will make the Hall of Fame. He had 600 tackles in his career, so he might make the Hall of Fame. He had a good career, not like a great All Star career, but a good, pretty good career. And Ryan Getzlaff also had a pretty good career too. He was a starting wide receiver of, for the Saskatchewan Roughriders. He played for a couple seasons. He was putting up 1,000 yards a season. He was an amazing receiver too. He's the brother of his brother plays in the NHL. Yeah. Yeah. Those are the only guys I know who had amazing careers up here as and John Cornish too. There probably is other Canadian players who I know, but I don't know. I don't remember. I don't remember obviously. So sorry. That's why there's barely any Canadian football player Hall of Famers. Because most of them don't get to shine up here. It's all the American guys. All the Hall of Famers in CFL are all these American guys who are inducted into the Canadian Football Hall of Fame, right? Yeah. Yeah. So I believe the CFL needs to clean house. Yeah. CFL needs to clean house, man. They gotta make some changes. But I could be wrong. Maybe the promoting, the marketing of the Canadian product won't make a difference. Like the league will still see minimal growth. But something tells me that's the key to growing the league substantially in 10 years, 10, 12 years. But it could also flop because the quality will go down. Yeah, and the quality will down. Yeah, I see what you're saying, guys. That's why I'll tell them, like, put them through better conditioning and training. Like Herb Brooks said. Change the game, change the defensive system, the offensive system to make it work better for the Canadian players. Have better coaching, better, more intense training. That way you get a better performance on the field. Yeah, we go, Ivan. Like, that could be the whole way. Ivan, man, this can actually work, man. Yeah. It's risky, Ivan. Yeah. You might tell me, Ivan, you're the one commissioner that pitched like a genius business strategy for a league. This can actually work. But it's risky, Ivan. The Canadians are just not as good as the American guys. Well, just like the best college players in Team USA were not as good as the NHL All Stars, and they beat the Soviets. They laughed Herbert's off as crazy, and he pulled it off. So, yeah. Ivan, you got a point there. Yeah. Sarah? I wrote with the coaches. Do you think they should be Canadian? No, no, no. For the coaches, it doesn't matter. Have them be American, Canadian, doesn't matter. The GMs, presidents, whatever, it doesn't matter if they're American or Canadian. I think it's good to balance American coaches with Canadian coaches. They're both amazing coaches. It's good to balance. As in the CFL, they have a lot of Canadian coaches. They also have a lot of American coaches. They have some Canadian CFL head coaches. They have Canadian. Most of the head coaches are the American guys, but there's a lot of Canadian coaches too in the CFL. Yeah. And if the league does double in revenue, I don't know, in 10 years, boy, it can also flop too. I'm gonna say that obviously. But if it does double in 10 years, so $500 million business in 10 years, now all the GMs and coaches can make more money and they can pay the players more money. You can raise the cap to like $10 million around there. $9 million the cap you can rate. 8.5, $9 million, $8.5 million cap. And you can pay the QBs more money now. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I know what I'm saying. Yeah. I'll tell us, so you give me a look, man. If you market the homegrown talent more and your league grows, obviously substantially in 10 years, you're going to get bigger sponsorship deals from the Canadian companies in Canada. You're going to get bigger television deals from TSN. You're also, the star players will be getting bigger endorsement deals. And the companies will be more willing to endorse the Canadian star players because the Canadian people can relate to them. They're homegrown talent. Well, the American guys, they don't relate to them that much because they're not homegrown talent. They're from a different country. They're from the States. That's what I'm saying. All right, that's a good point. Yeah, that's a good point, obviously. All right, you're a genius. I know. Sarah. But there's a lot of draft picks that would have been amazing athletes. Yeah, like if had you taken away the American talent, a lot of these draft picks would have been amazing star players, man, in the CFL. There's another receiver, Shamon Chambers. I remember him. He got drafted like in 2012 by Edmonton Eskimos. He was an amazing receiver. He played for Wilfrid Laurier, but he was also a bust first round pick. He had a few touchdowns in his career. He only had maybe a good 1,200, 1,300 yards receiving in his career. And he bounced around teams during his career, and he called it quits in 2019. Another bust first round pick. That's why, and you wonder why, CFO, the football fans in Canada don't take your draft seriously, man. Like, you're pissed off at not much people are tweeting into your draft. Well, I know why. Because your draft is bullshit. It's a crapshoot, man. You know what I'm saying? It's yeah, it's a crapshoot. Yeah, it's a crapshoot. Even your first round picks and second round picks, all of them are bust picks, man. They're all bust picks because of your American bias. Yeah, Ivan. The reason why we do that is because the American guys have to shine, man. They put on a show on television, Ivan. Yeah, but they're unknowns to the Canadian people, CFL. You've been marketing them for years. Something's not working. So obviously there has to be a key to fixing it. Don't hate me. Yeah. Yeah. Well, Ivan, what if it flops? Like, the only way I can see this flopping is the only way I can see this flopping is if you don't market them well. You have to really market them well. If you market them on TSN and you market them at the universities, CIH universities, and you do nationwide commercials, a lot of people in Canada will know about that change. And you have the press do a nationwide interview about the change at CFL South Canada. You air it on TSN. A lot of people in Canada will know. All of Canada will know because TSN is nationwide. Yeah, it's nationwide. Yes. And you put a big billboard of all like the star franchise quarterbacks in front of the stadium. That way, people in the city knows, yeah, when is homegrown talent the best players playing in Canada. You know what I'm saying? Oh my God, like this is the CFL's on Canada, and that's how you grow it. But Ivan, it can flop them, and the quality will dip, man. That's why you put them to better training conditioning. That's my answer, obviously. But they'll say, no, we can't do that. If you don't do this, I'm stepping down CFL commissioner, guys. I can't find any other way to grow your league with the American product. You've been trying your best to promote to market the American athletes to the Canadian people for years, CFL. You're not seeing much growth, so obviously something is not working. Either people in Canada just don't care about Canadian football, or they're not resonating with your star players. Those are my two answers. Your American star players, those are my two answers. One of those answers are true. Because the quality of the CFL will never make that change. Because we're blind by the American talent. Yeah, we're blind by the American talent. Yeah, you're blind by the American talent, CFL. Duh. Yeah. 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 I mean, what team are you rooting for to win the Grey Cup? BC Lions, man, because Nathan Rook is the starting quarterback. That's why I'm rooting for the BC Lions to win. When when the if the BC Lions do make it to the Grey Cup, I'm going to watch the game this year. If they don't make it, I won't watch it. Yeah. So Sarah. Yeah. Yeah. But if the CFL can grow to, I don't know, a $300 million business in 10 years, and that's good. At least the league had minimal growth, but at least it grew in 10 years. The star players can make more money, obviously. Because I know the CFL's cheap, man. They can pay the players a little bit more, but they're just cheap and greedy. Yeah, we're cheap, but they're struggling financially a little bit. So I understand. That's also another reason too. They're struggling. They're struggling to really attract the Canadian people. But the CFL can easily pay the players a bit more, but they're just cheap. Yeah. They want to hold on to that cash. But I understand though, like they're not the NFL. They're a small little league compared to the NFL, so they have to be smart with their money, obviously. Obviously. So like, the CFL does know the American players don't want to play here. They do, but they don't care, obviously. Why by the town? Yeah, we know they never want to be here. But hopefully, when we sign these guys and they get these CFL stars, hopefully we keep them here and they don't go to the NFL. But quite a bit of them, they take their NFL opportunity when they get an NFL opportunity, man, because that's their dream. It's not playing here. But some of them turn it down. Okay, I love it. I love it up here. I'm a CFL star. I'm a franchise player. The fans love me. My chances of starting the NFL is not high. I'm just going to stay up here. And a lot of them end up staying up here, especially the quarterbacks. A lot of the quarterbacks just stay up here because they're already making a great living playing up here. And they're franchise quarterbacks. Okay, I don't want to jeopardize my position as a franchise quarterback going to the NFL. I get put on the practice roster and I come back and I lose my starting franchise position in the CFL. That's why most quarterbacks just stay up here. Some of them do take NFL opportunities, but most quarterbacks just stay up here because they make enough money up here, obviously, right? Obviously. But Warren Moon's the only quarterback who had like a huge success story. Like he killed up here in the CFL. He was a franchise quarterback. He won 5 Grey Cups in a row in the CFL. Then he went. The CFL tried to keep him. They offered him a lot of money, but he went to the NFL because the CFL can't compete with the NFL. And Warren Moon was obviously making a lot of money as a quarterback in the CFL. He still ditched the CFL. He probably told the GM, "Look, man, I love it. I had a great career up here. This is my home, Edmonton, but man, NFL is my dream. He's not playing here," and he left to the NFL. And he became a legend in the NFL too. But I don't believe he has a Super Bowl. Yeah, Warren Moon doesn't have a Super Bowl in the NFL. He has a Grey Cup for the CFL, but he doesn't have a Super Bowl in the NFL. Warren Moon, right? That's why Warren Moon is very respected because he's a legend in both leagues. It's very tough to be a legend in both leagues because they're 2 different games, the CFL and the NFL, right? Yeah, he's a legend in both leagues, man. That's why Warren Moon is very, very respected, obviously. Because he's a legend in both the CFL and the NFL. Yeah, man. The only player I think in history who's a legend in both leagues. No other player has that accolade, right? Yeah. Almost done here, guys. I think my next video I'm gonna go back talking about Zanes and Sky because I'm done with the CFL. I know other people goes, I know, but I talked about the CFL for almost 2 weeks. It's enough. So I'm sorry. I do hope the CFL grows. I hope the CFL, even though I know the CFL believes the best way to grow the league is with the American town, I disagree. But I hope the league does grow in 10 years. I think it will. In 10 years, it can be a $300 million a year business. They can raise the cap, and the star players can now make more money, which is good for the league, obviously, and for the players. Obviously, don't hang us in there. Yeah. I'm sorry. So Ivan, if the CFL is homegrown town, yeah, if the CFL is homegrown town, hypothetically speaking, and the league drafts like CIS quarterbacks, and Dwayne Ford, and I'm talking about, yeah, can this quarterback be a franchise quarterback in the CFL? Now more fans are going to be more invested and interested in the draft because they know a lot of these players are going to be stars. The first like the first like 4 round picks will be franchise players. The other players will be playing special teams. They now take the draft more seriously. Whereas right now the CFL draft is a crapshoot. As even first and second round picks, third round picks are all bust picks, man. They have like limited reps in their careers. You know, and they have special team tackles. And that's it, man. They're all bust picks. They're all bust like picks, right? Yeah. They're all bust picks, man. Yeah, man. Sad. They're all bust picks. Yeah. What do you think the key is to growing the league substantially with a homegrown talent? It's all about marketing, man. They have to really market the heck out of the guys on TSN. At the universities is a good place to market it too. There's over a million plus students who go to universities. Now they know, yeah, some of these players who play here are now franchise players, and more people will tune into the games. And if you put the billboard in front of the stadium, you're now building buzz around the city. Oh my God, I want to see these Canadian guys play, man, for the Great Cup, and more people. The stadiums will be packed. Will have even crazier buzz than even the American players because they can relate to the Canadian players more, obviously. Let's see what we're talking about. We're not worried about the game attendance. We know the fans will come to the game to support their Canadian homegrown talent. That's not the issue. It's the television ratings, Ivan. Yeah, because you think, but I don't get it. So the fans who come to the stadium, that quality is good enough for them, but somehow you don't think it's good enough for the people watching on television. Yeah, I mean, it's not good enough. It's still good though. Yeah, it's good, but it's not. It's not like the NFL. I mean, yeah, that's the problem. You're blinded by the American talent. You're trying to be the NFL of Canada, CFL, instead of focusing on being the CFL of Canada, the Canadian people. That's why you bring the American guys, because you're blinded by the American talent. Yeah, we're blind by the American talent. Yeah, you're blind by the American talent. That's the problem, man. Don't hate him saying, yeah, that's the problem. Don't hate him saying, yeah. Some Sarah. So you tell me if he talked about Nathan Rook and Trey Ford and I don't know, Brandon Bridge and Brad Sinopoli and you know what I'm saying? They talk about those guys as franchise quarterbacks. Who's the best quarterback in the league? You're telling me Canadians in Canada, and you market them on TSN. You're telling me more fans in Canada will not tune into that? Yeah, you got a point there. It could be pretty big. Yes, obviously because they can relate these players more. They're Canadian. Zach Collaros and Boy Evan Mitchell and Oliver Bernard, Adam Jr. may be a bit better than those quarterbacks, even if it makes much of a difference. But they're more talented, but they're unknowns to the Canadian people. They're from a different country, guys. They're American. Guys from Sarah? Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, yeah. I believe Brandon Bridge would have been an amazing franchise quarterback if you took away the American talent and Brandon Bridge was a franchise quarterback. He would have been an amazing quarterback in the CFL. People would call him probably the Michael Vick of Canada. Obviously, the Michael Vick of Canada, and it'll build buzz, man. Yeah, we know it could be big, but it's risky, man. The quality will dip, man. Yeah, they don't think they're good enough to put on entertaining football for the Canadian people. But when I saw that CIS Championship game with McMaster versus Laval, I was on the edge of my seat and I was fucking entertained by that game. It was good for me. Not the NCAA, but it was good for me. And even Dwayne Ford was on the edge of his seat. Dwayne Ford, what? He was a color commentator for that game, and he was like, best game ever. Yeah, he was going crazy, Dwayne Ford. And those are not even the best players in Canada playing. As each CI's team only has maybe one or two guys eligible for the draft that year, right? A good like maybe two guys for every team are eligible for the CFL draft, and that's it. Those are not even the best players in Canada. Yeah. Do you think Nathan Rourke will go back in the NFL against an opportunity? No, he won't. He won't. He knows about the bias. He's not stupid, man. Yeah, I told you, all the Canadian players, their dreams playing here, they don't care that much about the NFL. If they get an opportunity, they'll take it, some of them, but they don't. They care more about the CFL. This is their home. Canada's their home, and they love it playing up here. They don't really care about the NFL, the Canadian players, because they're Canadian. They know their chances are not high. They just play. Yeah, being a star player up here is good for me. I don't care about the NFL. They don't care about the NFL, the Canadians. They want to play, their dream is playing in the CFL. Sometimes I know Hamilton, yeah. That's their dream, right? The youngest everybody would tell you, yeah, he did, man. Yeah, Ivan, man. If the CFL was all the best players in Canada playing, I think the league would be more popular. He told me that, man. It'd have crazy buzz. I'd be going crazy for all these Canadian quarterbacks. I know. I know, man. Yeah. But you have to market them. That's the key. And you have to put them through more intense training. Okay, put them through NCAA training. That way you get a performance from them on the field. Okay, that's a good strategy, yes. For the offseason and on field, and better coaching from the coaches, especially the quarterbacks. You have to really coach them well. That way they're amazing players playing in Canada, obviously. Yeah, but Ivan, like, even though they're going to be amazing players, it's good quality, it's not like the American guys, Ivan. Yeah, that's the problem. You're blinded by the American talent. You're trying to be the NFL of Canada CFL. And it's not working, so obviously something is not right in your league. Don't hate me, say, yeah, something's obviously not right in your league, right? Yeah, that's my answer. Or people in Canada just don't care about Canadian football that much. That's my other answer. I have your genes, I know. Give me a second, I'm gonna go upstairs. guys. I use the bathroom. Yeah, remember the Herb Brooks video I showed you? Yeah, I remember that, Ivan. Yeah. That's what I'll pitch to the committee. Yeah, put them through better conditioning, training, off-season training, coaching, and you can pull this off. You got to market the heck out of mainly the quarterbacks. Have the CFL and TSN panel talk about it. Do a nationwide interview, air it on TSN when they interview me about the change, how everyone kind of knows about the change, and that's how you grow it. It's not going to be an overnight success, but it can grow in 10 years. Or it might flop because the quality's not that good. So it's the Ivan, it could flop, man, because the quality will dip. Yeah, but it won't dip by much, guys. It'll dip by maybe 6%. Ivan, that's a significant drop. Yeah, but it's still entertaining football. It's still quality football. It's quality football, Ivan. It's not like the Americans. Yeah, because you're blinded by the American talent. You're trying to be the NFL of Canada, CFL. Never gonna happen. So, but the league should grow in 10 years. I hope, obviously, right? Hopefully, the league grows in 10 years. That's my point, obviously. That way, the players who play in the CFL can make more money, right? Because you deserve a raise, the players in the CFL. But the CFL's cheap. They're not going to pay them more money. Oh, I mean, that's good enough. You know what I'm saying. Yeah. Anyways, guys, here's where I talked for long enough, man. Around 12 minutes, that's good enough. Hope you guys enjoyed this show. I might make a video maybe tonight or not. I don't know. I'll change the topic and not about the CFL. I'm going to go back to talking about Zanes and Sky Source. That's more important to me anyways, right? It's Zahmer. I'm silent. Peace. Hope you guys enjoyed my CFL video. Don't hate him, man. Peace out, guys.